Good morning, everybody. Keith Engle here for TGI Sports Talk Sunday stream of consciousness. How's everybody doing today? It's a great Sunday morning. Welcome to the show. Hope to have everybody enjoying their Sundays. If you didn't enjoy your Saturday and the college football championship weekend, we'll talk a lot. I think a lot of the show today is going to take up arguments about where teams will be ranked. We'll talk about all those games. We'll talk about the rankings. We'll talk about Matt Campbell and Penn State. We'll talk some NFL playoff positioning. Couple of the big games today. Maybe we'll talk some baseball. Donnie Mattingly, Dale Murphy shooting for 12 votes to get into the Hall of Fame on the veterans vote or whatever we want to call it these days. And anything else that comes up into your guys' mind. It's your show. Welcome on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all the groups that allow us to share. You see our favorites scrolling across the bottom of the screen. John Gonzalez from the Sports Authorities, the best group out there. Greg Rawlings, a close second with America's Pastime, the Love of Baseball. Flo and Can, man, what a great podcast they do. It Flo's back, and I know they're going to get back into the action here soon with regular podcasts. Check them out, and they're happy to share my show, and I'm happy to share theirs when they happen. Let's Talk Sports, where Flo and Can do their I think their main podcast. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, if you come on. Ken Krause at Golf Bud Sports of all sorts, and a quick shout out to Ralph Williams at RW Media. Ralph does some great stuff out of Ocean City, Maryland. Pittsburgh Focus, national footprint. Check out Sports Corner specifically. Tuesdays, 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern. And we've been a guest on that show many times, and we like it. DDH, thumbs up. Mac McGrath, thumbs up. And you're watching this now, as we will be rebranding the shows that have always been on National Streaming Sports, the McGrath Streaming Podcast Project. I got it right first time. This Brian will be proud of me. We'll have some new new stuff coming and openings and who knows what else Brian will put together. But we want to keep honoring Mac McGrath on these shows. So we'll have some fun today. We'll probably do some arguing today. Good morning, Paul Spada. How are you, my friend? Your team's safely in the rankings. Good morning, Rick Sherlock. That is you, isn't it? You keep changing your freaking screen name, man. I told you Indiana wasn't Cincinnati, man. They are big and strong and tough. Now, with that said, I don't know that I'll say to still be favored if they face them again in the playoff. Indiana wanted this game a whole lot more than Ohio State, and I don't blame them. It meant nothing to them. Indiana beating Ohio State for the first time in 30 years, first outright Big Ten championship in 80 years. Certainly meant something to them. But congratulations to your Georgia team. Excuse me, I've been battling a little bit of a cold. Congratulations to your Georgia team. Just dismantled Alabama. It wasn't even as close as a score in my mind, which is why Alabama should be falling out of this rankings. But from everything I'm hearing, not going to happen. Why doesn't the eye test matter? The eye test, it does matter in some cases, doesn't matter in others, apparently. But anyway, congratulations, Indiana. Congratulations, Georgia. Both of them will be in the top 4 and get buys in that first round. Good morning, Michael Abrams. Good to have you with us. As always, Danny Fuller out on the West Coast early. I'm sorry. I've got no choice but to I used to be able, Facebook used to let me share both shows, but I would go on with Mac and Jack in the morning, and they were on for another hour after I started my show. I was able to play them simultaneously. I can't do that anymore. So the only way for me to start this show and you guys be able to see it and comment is for me to end my simulcast of that show on the two places I'm able to share it. So I apologize for that. If you ever want to jump back to them, you can go to YouTube and National Streaming Sports. I'm not sure where Brian puts it on Facebook, quite frankly. I think they'll probably start a new Facebook page with the new McGrath streaming podcast project. So, again, my apologies for that, but I have no other options anymore. Georgia has been peaking as the season's progressed. They played very well. They played much, much better. Their defensive play since Tennessee, let's say, even, I mean, again, that's the comparison I'll make. They progressed, I think, weekly. But you go back and look at their defensive play against Tennessee, but specifically the defensive backs, night and day. Well coached. Kirby Smart is a really good coach. I don't think I've ever really disparaged Georgia. I think when they were going for 3 in a row, I was rooting for them and had predicted them to do it. This team isn't as good as those teams, but I don't know that we're going to see teams as good as that anymore. And Alabama, awful. 80 yards of offense in 3 quarters. How does the eye test not matter now? I'm for the eye test. I like the eye test. This committee has no clue what they want. I'm going to tell you right up front. I'm a Miami fan. I think Miami needs to be in the playoff. Should be and deserves to be in a playoff. I'm not going to be Alabama whining and crying. Alabama fans whining and crying when they don't get there. Take care of business, dudes. You didn't beat Louisville. You didn't beat SMU. 2 unranked teams. Teams that are going to nothing bowl games. SMU couldn't go to Cal and win. You have to beat that team. Beat one of them. Just one of them. End the arguments. Don't leave it in the hands of other people to decide your fate. Said that about Alabama last year. Now, if Alabama didn't belong in last year, how do they belong in this year? And why is Oklahoma not in the conversation? We shouldn't be having any polls. It's another topic we'll talk about. Here's the thing. Let me talk about the committee and get a couple things off my chest. They can't decide what matters. They say head-to-head matters until it doesn't. They say that strength schedule matters until it doesn't. Hello, James Madison. They say, because you want to go by strength of schedule, then well, Duke ought to get in. I know they got 5 losses, but make up your mind. Good losses matter until they don't. Wins don't ever seem to matter. And the eye test matters until it doesn't matter. Make up your freaking minds, man. And stop. Here's the thing that needs to stop. I said this Wednesday night. Kirk Herbstreit said it yesterday. Must be watching the Wednesday night show. Michael talked about polls early in the year. And I said, well, polls are ridiculous until, whatever, week 5, week 6. Maybe the one that doesn't matter until they start doing the college football playoff poll on the 11th of November. Well, they should stop that. This season has shown me that there should be no ranking for the playoff until after these championship games. Then we aren't penalizing teams. We're looking at the whole body of work. We're not penalizing teams for playing an extra game. You don't know what their thought process is going to be. Oklahoma got slotted in the first week, and they were able to maintain that because they played very weak teams down the schedule. Allen, if you're here, I'm sorry. Your team doesn't belong in this playoff. How are they in? If Alabama's out, which I would like to see, how is Oklahoma in? Exactly. You can make arguments about a lot of things. This is going to come down to a comparison of 4 teams. BYU, which I think is already on the way out. Miami, which would be out as things stand today. Alabama. And who else? Notre Dame. I think the committee tipped their hand last week when they put Alabama over Notre Dame. I think they were protecting Alabama if they were to lose this game. Now, they lost it badly. That game wasn't even as close as 28-7 or whatever the frickin' score was. me get to some of your comments. We're going to fall way behind. I wore this specifically. We will get some Patriot garb on today, but we're going to go. Since we're on a bye, I'll be going out in the Miami top today with the Patriot hat so we can give them a little bit of support. I am not going to cry and whine, though, when they don't make the playoff. You're not going to say anything in these comments today that's going to change my mind. Do they deserve to be in? Yes, 100%. Here's the other thing. The committee says they want the best 12 teams, but we don't even start with a process that allows for the best 12 teams because we let the group of 5 in, which I'm okay with. But don't tell me you're looking for the best 12 teams when already one of them will hardly ever be one of the top 12 teams. Indiana was fabulous yesterday. Mendoza, it's funny, the sports books almost all have saying as a favorite. I don't think that's really a way to kind of judge who's ahead. I think Mendoza has won this award. I think the way he played some tough football. He didn't play great yesterday, but the Penn State comeback, yesterday's gutty performance, he was awful in the first quarter, took a big hit, and played a gutty game yesterday. That defense is so freaking good. With that said, and congratulations, Indiana, first outright championship in 80 years. Kirk Cignetti gets this done in 2 years. Great hire, by the way, Danny. Of Chet, is it Chesney? Can't think of the guy's name from JMU, by the way. Great hire. These guys just win at James Madison. I'm worked up today. You guys worked me up last night, up till 12:30 again. Ohio State loves playing teams the second time. Ask the Quacks. I agree. I mean, Ohio State to me is still the favorite, probably, but they showed they have cracks. They had no motivation to win this. You think a Big Ten championship is that important? And I say these games don't matter, and I understand winning Big Ten championships is important to fans, important to players. For Ohio State, it's beating Michigan and win a national championship. As long as all of this emphasis is going to be put on the playoff, these league championships are going to become more and more irrelevant. Think about basketball. Who remembers who wins the ACC from year to year, regular season championship? Or even tournament championships? People don't remember. They remember who wins the NCAA tournament. Now, their fans do. I agree, Michael. No, and not just over Notre Dame. Notre Dame belongs in the field as well. I'm going to tell you right now, if you did not vote until today, we saw no votes, not a one. Ohio State be in, Indiana be in, Georgia be in, Texas Tech could be in. I'm going to tell you, Georgia might be in trouble, or Oregon might be in trouble when you just start looking at. I'm sorry, Paul. If you look at the entire resume and who they beat, their best win is USC. That's one of the best wins in this group. Ole Miss would be in most likely. A&M would be in. Oklahoma be out. Alabama be out. Without a doubt, they'd be out. Notre Dame would be in. Miami be in. BYU probably would be in. And then you take the top 5. I mean, maybe they have to do away with the automatic burst for the conference winners, whatever. It's not like basketball where, you got a regular season and a postseason winner. I don't know. I'd say do away with the conference championship games and let the regular season winner go, but that's convoluted too because you got 5-way ties at the top because of all the teams that play in unbalanced schedules. They 1,000% belong in the playoff, Michael. There's about a 20% chance that they get in. I hope to be pleasantly surprised at noon today. Hello, Chris F. Grave. How are you? Bo Jackson won his Heisman Trophy in his final year at Auburn. 1 week from today, we'll know the Heisman Trophy winner. I expect it to be Mendoza. Bo Jackson was a freak of nature, man. You want to see a real man play football? Go watch some of Bo Jackson's college football highlights. Oh, my God. You know, it's funny, too. And he never comes up in my mind when I'm sometimes on the college football huddle, we start talking about the best college football players of all time, right? I think I put my seat down a little bit. Oh, maybe not that far. Oh, now I'm on the ground. All right. Is that better? All right, good. What was I talking about? I'm trying to adjust my seat. This is good TV, right? All right. Bo Jackson. I never think of Bo Jackson when I'm thinking about the greatest college football players of all time. Great player. Well, they had the capability, Paul. Now you got to go out and do it. You got to win, 4 games? 3 games, I guess, in their case. They've earned the number 1 spot in this playoff. I think Ohio State falls to 2, quite frankly. The way I see it right now, here's how I would rank it. This is not how I would see it coming out. Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia, Texas Tech. So you flip-flop 1 and 2. Quite frankly, I'd have Notre Dame 5 if I was doing the committee. Oregon 6, Ole Miss 7, Miami 8, Texas A&M 9. I missed somebody tonight. Did I drop somebody out? Oklahoma's out. Alabama's out. This is me. Texas in. I'm sorry, BYU in. And then you got your 2 group of 5s. James Madison is going to be the worst team ever to play in this playoff. Strength of schedule 123. Now, with that said, I'll root for them. That's they're playing Miami. Paul, I think I'll take that bet. Name the bet. There you go. Already we got a bet. Michael said he'd be a little late this morning. I think he's got to work, and he's driving to work probably as we speak. Hey, Ken, how are you? I just mentioned Ken and Bottom Line Sports. Ken and Flo do a great job over there, and hope to see more of you guys soon. As I said, Ken, I believe Miami is going to get screwed. I am not going to whine and cry about it like Alabama fans. I don't know, you might be an Alabama fan, Ken. I don't remember. Herb, I'm sorry if you're watching. Herb, I co-hosted with on one of Bo Croucher's shows earlier this week. Is a big Alabama fan. The eye test matters until it doesn't. The eye test matters for Notre Dame, and I've said that. The eye test does matter. But when it comes to a game like yesterday in Alabama, and we have to let them in just because they had to play an extra game, no, they would not have had 3 losses if they didn't play. Yeah, if you're going to penalize teams for making conference championship games, why would teams go to conference championship games? Just don't show up. Well, then you're going to forfeit. I don't think that's going to do you any good either. I think Miami gets left out. I think Notre Dame's in. I think Alabama's in. And then you got the 2. I think you got Tulane and James Madison. You know, again, people get on Duke and there are 5 losses, which I get. I don't want a 5-loss team in there. But they won their conference, and it's a much better conference in the Sun Belt. If it's the 5 best conference winners, Duke has to be in there. I'm sorry. But they won't be. They got like a 1% chance. I guess that answers my question about Can. He's a Bulldog fan. As I said to Rick earlier, Can, your team's playing great. Has gotten much better as the season's gone on, and that is one of the truly trademarks of a great team. Get better as the season goes on. Again, Miami has nobody to blame but themselves. When you don't beat Louisville and you don't beat SMU. Now, if they find a way to line these teams up 10 and 11, which I'm not sure they will, that would mean they'd have to leave Alabama 9/10 after that awful performance yesterday. If you can line up Miami and Notre Dame next to each other, then I think, and they've said, if they said, my apologies, guys. They've said if teams were lined up on the line, one line against another line, 10-11, let's say, they would use a head-to-head as a tiebreaker. And they said they won't invoke it, or don't necessarily invoke it when one's 12 and one's 10. Apples. I don't get the rationale there. I really don't. And again, you're going to hear me arguing that Miami belongs in, but I'm not going to cry when they're out. Agreed, Danny. They have some of the best wins, but they got some of the worst losses too. They lost to a bad Oklahoma offense. That's a great defense. Their offense is atrocious. Again, sorry, Alan. It's the worst offense in the top freaking 20. And again, the problem is people look back and they go, well, they beat Vanderbilt. They beat Missouri when they were 12, and they beat Tennessee when they were 11. Missouri and Tennessee aren't ranked at all. Is that right, by the way? I seem to have lost my my ranking. But Alabama, again, the eye test has a matter for them too. I get not penalizing a team for playing that extra game, but when you play that badly in that extra game, how can I not look at it? 80 yards of offense in 3 quarters? And they do deserve to be in. I'll say it again. They deserve to be in 1,000%, as Michael said earlier. But there'll be no whining here when they don't. Take care of business. You can't get your team up to beat 2 teams that didn't even finish in the top 25. I mean, where did Louisville even get any votes in the AP poll? No. Not a single vote. SMU, 8 votes in the AP poll, and obviously they don't rank in the football poll. You can't lose to those teams. Sorry. I agree 100%, Danny. I mean, yeah, I get it. You got to play an extra game. First of all, do away with the conference championship games. They don't matter for the most part. But you've got to find a way to come up with a clear-cut regular season champion. And the problem is these giant leagues are going to constantly have log jams at the top. How many Power 4 conferences? How many Power 4 conferences didn't have ties at the top? The American Conference had 3 teams tied at the top. The ACC had a clear-cut winner in Virginia. We wouldn't even be having this conversation. We would have had a tiebreaker in the Big 12, but Texas Tech had beaten BYU during the season. We wouldn't have this conversation. BYU would be out. Indiana, Ohio State, we'd have to go to a tiebreaker because they didn't play each other. You need divisions, number one. If you're going to have a conference championship, you need divisions. Where else? Mountain West, 4 teams tied for the top. 4 teams tied in the SEC. 2 teams tied in the Pac-12. Well, I'm joking. I mean, James Madison would have been a clear winner in the Sun Belt. Too many inconsistencies. I love you too, buddy. Good morning, JB. How are you, my friend? Check JB and the Back It Up podcast on YouTube. Paul hangs conference banners. What's that got to do with liking Miami? They deserve to be in. I said I'm not going to cry when they're out. I mean, I'm telling you, they belong in the tournament. Oh, because I dropped Oregon. Eye test tells me that they're better. The resume tells me they're better. I mean, you're going to be playing in the Big Ten. Well, actually, no, because Indiana's got the best win in the country. And I don't even care. Here's the problem with rankings and doing it weekly is, well, in week 1, Miami beat number 2, whatever they were, 5. I don't know where Notre Dame was. I don't remember. But they didn't end up there. Ended up lower. That's not even a better case. The better case is the Tennessees, the Missouris, the Texas to a certain extent. Teams that were ranked high and fell right out. Clemson. Well, you beat Clemson early in the year. It looks like a great win. But you don't get penalized for that down the road. They need to wait. This playoff committee needs to wait until all the games are played before they put out one ranking. These would look totally different. Then you can look at the resume. You can look at head-to-head. You can look at strength of schedule. You can look at the eye test. You can put it all together. But once you rank guys, I mean, now you're locked into guys in certain places if they keep winning. Oklahoma is the perfect example of this. The argument's going to be about Alabama, Notre Dame, and Miami because BYU is likely up. And as Danny said, they're going to be treated unfairly. Although they would be out. I apologize for my I should have taken my medicine before. We're back. Sorry about that. Probably should take my cold medicine before the shows this morning. That's what I get for staying up late. My wife is building something upstairs, it sounds like. Where was I? Yeah, Oklahoma doesn't even come into this conversation, and they should. BYU would be in. Well, if you took away conference championship games and we just took the regular season winners and then at large teams. By the way, you can eliminate some of this by taking the model that I got sued for being a proponent of. I didn't say I made it up, to be clear. Take all the conference champions. And put whatever number you want on the at-larges. I don't care. Take all 10 or 11, I think, next year. Conference championships and put them in. That alleviates the whole Duke, James Madison conversation. Put them in. Do it with 16 teams. Do it with 24 teams. I don't really care. the number you put in isn't really going to matter because you're going to have a log jam at the back no matter what you do. And then you're going to have teams arguing, oh, who's number 16 or who's number 24. Which is why I'm not that upset when my team gets left out of the 12th spot. I'm not getting that upset. Sorry. Just not. You win one more game, you're in the top 5. So, yeah, Paul, that's all my conjecture, right? That's how I would rank them based on what I see today. Full body of work. We beat Notre Dame, you beat USC. That's it. I mean, you're going to hear me contradict myself a little bit today because, again, the committee is so contradictory, it's impossible not to contradict yourself. My glass is crooked. Sorry. I just don't know the answer. Georgia win it all. They're most listen, there's a couple dangerous teams. Indiana's dangerous. Ohio State, that loss yesterday means nothing to their championship victory possibilities. Obviously, your Georgia team, do not sleep on Texas Tech. That defense is so good. Money well spent. Flo gets mad. I talk about the money. Everybody's spending money. They spent it well. Difference. I think Coach Saban said last year about Ohio State spending, $20+ million on their roster, and he said, as long as you don't spend it on shit. He likes the word. He uses it a lot. And if they can say it on ESPN, I can say it here. Maybe my head's crooked. My glass is crooked. Maybe the camera's crooked. I think my glasses are crooked. Well, we've lost focus now. Oh, by the way, I'm not done. If Miami gets in, they're dangerous. Notre Dame is playing as good as anybody in the country. Dangerous. Yes, Georgia's got a chance. They're not the most dangerous team. They're one of the most dangerous teams. But I agree. Sort of. Will the committee put Ohio State and Indiana on the opposite sides of the brackets? No, I think they get 1 and 2. I think they get 1 and 2. I said at the top, I don't think Ohio State falls more than one spot. Puts them on opposite sides of the bracket, sets them up for a rematch in the national championship game. I think that's what will happen. Now, they could do that also by making them, 3 or 4, however that works out. I guess 3. Or maybe it would be 4, right? But so they could seed him not improperly. I mean, what's properly? That question's a little open-ended, Danny, because I don't know what you think is proper. I think 1 and 2 is proper. I think it's Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia, Texas Tech. And they're not going to drop Ohio State out of the top 4. If we thought that was going to happen, that was never going to happen. And it shouldn't. UNLV fighting for the good old days of UNLV basketball. They were pathetic against Boise State, by the way. Ended up with a decent season, I think 10-3, but blown out twice by Boise State. They don't like blue. I guess they can't play in the blue field. I don't know. But they didn't look prepared Friday night. I bet the over in that game. And it was like 45 at halftime. And I'm thinking, can't lose this game. It was 59.5. You can guess what they scored. Thanks, Ken. I did figure that out. Neil Bush is with us. Good call. They'd be the first three-loss team to get in. Well, maybe Duke gets in at 5. I don't know. But Well, and here's the thing: would expand it to 16. Well, you expand it to 16, you're going to let 3 lost teams in. I'm really infatuated with my glasses right now. I apologize. But Neil, you're 100% right. And the eye test matters too. Again, you can look at all the numbers, right? Losses, the number of losses should matter. But this committee can't figure out what they care about. You know, excuse me, do I care more about head-to-head? Do I care more about a margin of victory? Do I care more about strength of schedule? Do I care more about conference strength? Do I care more about the eye test? They can't make up their mind. And they use different criteria to review different teams. You can't be like this. And listen, the problem is I have more questions than I have answers. I don't have answers for all of this. I mean, even my answer of 16-team playoff or whatever number you want to have and invite all the conference champions doesn't alleviate the fact that we'd have this argument about the at-large bursts, right? But, yeah, I mean, to me, Alabama's out. Notre Dame and Miami are in. By the way, Oklahoma's out too. Great defense. Great defense. Offense is putrid. To me, they got the worst resume. I think they might have the worst resume in this field. Yeah, I'm sorry, Herb, you're here. You're here today. I apologize. I hope you'll invite me back to co-host with you one day, even though I'm being so adamantly against Alabama. And this is, you look at, I'm a Miami fan. That's why I wore this today. So you know, I'm arguing they belong. I'm also arguing, I'm not going to argue if they get left out. They're backing in if they get in. Because if Bama wins yesterday, there's no argument Miami belongs in. BYU wins yesterday. Notre Dame's got no argument they belong in. This could have been a lot worse. This could have been much, much worse. If BYU had won yesterday, well, now Notre Dame and Miami would be on the outside. That would be a travesty. But again, everybody needs to take care of their business. Hello, CA. Good to have you with us. I believe he was. I believe Joe Jackson. I believe Bo Jackson was. That's not hard to say. Bo Jackson was a sophomore, yes. Hello, Michael. Good to have you with us. We're done talking college football. I'm just kidding. Well, they're not going to get included. But I don't know how including James Madison is any better to the process, Neil. I mean, they've had a great season. They've done great things there. Their coach has done great. He's earned himself a spot at a Power 4 school, such as it is. Sorry, Danny. But how do you leave a Power 4 champion out? They did win the conference, no matter how stupidly they go about putting the teams in the championship game. Again, if you're going to have championship games, you need divisions. I'm probably not going to get all worked up over whether Duke or James Madison gets that bid, quite frankly. And I believe it comes down to the two of them. I don't think Boise State's in the – because they got 4 losses, don't they? Are we going to be happier with a 4-loss team? Are you happier? I guess that's a question you have to ask yourself, Neil. Are you happier with a 1-loss James Madison team who played 123rd ranked strength of schedule in the country? The Sun Belt isn't a wealth of football talent. This is a good, well-coached team. Don't get me wrong. They're going to go get smoked by whoever they play. Now, Tulane might put up a fight. Tulane had some good games this year. Tulane was very up and down. They're better than James Madison. I think, again, they don't play each other. Very hard to make these calls head-to-head when they don't play each other. That's why head-to-head, as Danny has talked about, should matter. But when it doesn't, I won't go crying, I promise. Tulane beat up on this Duke team. Well, they didn't beat up on them. They beat this Duke team. They did get hammered at Ole Miss. They did get hammered by UTSA. Again, well coached. Good, very good for that next level of football, as we talk about, right? Power 4 against G5, G6 next year. But it's doubtful they're going to win a game either. I'm not sure about JUCO. Now, if you want to talk about, FCS, there's some teams there like the Dakotas, although North Dakota State got upset yesterday. You want to talk about some of those teams. Those teams might play better than James Madison. And James Madison struggled with Troy for 3 quarters, actually into the 4th quarter. There's Alan, who's been listening to me belittle his team. Indiana, the Tech's not going to be too. I don't think it matters. It just matters where you end up in the bracket. Indiana, Texas Tech, Georgia, Ohio State, Ole Miss, Oregon. And again, by the way, when I talk about it, Alan, I'm talking about like if I had not seen a college football playoff poll till yesterday, Oklahoma would be out. But he does have Miami in. Maybe I should cut him some slack. Maybe Oklahoma does belong in. Notre Dame, James Madison, Tulane. So you dropped Oklahoma. I'm sorry, you dropped Alabama. If we're not going to count the conference championship games, then you have to look at Alabama against Oklahoma. And in all fairness, if it comes down to those two, which in your rankings it wouldn't, Alan, I know that. But in my mind, that is a relevant conversation. If you compare the resumes of Oklahoma and Alabama, which team belongs in? If you take away yesterday's loss, so they both got 2 losses. Becomes much tougher, doesn't it? I agree. The problem, though, Danny, the argument that's going to happen, and probably rightfully so, why are we playing these games? If you get yourself to your conference championship game and you lose, but you would have been safely in by not playing, why would you play? I mean, you have to go play. Don't get me wrong. I get that. But 2 bad losses. That's the problem. I mean, you can't. The problem with Miami is you can't just look at the one and not the other. I mean, their 2 losses might be probably the worst of the 4. I don't have all the schedules in front of me right now. I do have somebody's. I mean, let me put it with Alabama just because that's going to be the conversation. I mean, again, the 2 losses are far worse than Notre Dame's. But you can't, if you're just going to compare the 2, I got 2 worse losses in Notre Dame, but I beat them head to head. That one's easy, which is why if they line them up next to each other, Miami still might win that argument. But that's not going to happen. So let's compare them to Alabama. We already know Notre Dame's 2 losses were to 2 top 5 teams. Well, they were top 8 teams. Who's Alabama's losses to? Florida State? Oh, that doesn't matter because it was in September. And Oklahoma. And Georgia. They did beat Georgia. I don't know. It's so subjective. It's hard. There's never going to be a right answer. That shouldn't be the rationale, Alan. That's the point. I know what the rationale is. This is a no-brainer. This isn't, again, I don't mean any disrespect to you when I say this. This isn't rocket science, right? If all you care about is freaking eyeballs to the TV, then just forget about the whole freaking poll and vote for, have a popularity contest amongst the fans who they want to see play. That should not come into play even a little bit, but it will. And by the way, if that was a rationale, why did the committee drop Notre Dame behind Alabama this past week? They were trying to protect Alabama against the loss to Georgia. I don't think they foresaw Georgia dominating Oklahoma. I'm sorry. I keep saying Oklahoma. Alabama the way they did yesterday. There's not any kind of spin you can put on yesterday's game for Alabama that's positive. The eye test doesn't matter? Yes, it does. Yes, talking heads want to keep. Well, listen, ESPN bankrolls the whole freaking thing. Don't go to ESPN and get any useful information. I'm not saying you are, Alan, but please, guys, when you come here, don't use ESPN as your freaking guide because they have an agenda. They want TV ratings because they bankroll, most of this whole freaking thing. Along with ABC and Fox and whatever else. But ESPN's got a huge, all of these guys. I can take nothing what I see there. It's like watching the network news and the freaking spin you get there. You get the same kind of spin here because they want certain teams to do well and be in. And guess what? Football's better when Notre Dame's good, but I'm not going to make them good just for the sake of having them in a playoff. And with that said, they belong in it. They do belong in it. But that rationale shouldn't come into play at all. I had this argument with Jack the other day. And I understand that it does. I'm not saying it doesn't. But if you sit there saying, well, we could take Miami, but Notre Dame's going to bring 5 more million viewers. That's just stupid. We're trying to decide who's the best team, not the most popular. If that were the case, the Cowboys would be in a Super Bowl every year. Maybe not. What did I lose here? Sorry, I think I left some of this out. Talking heads wanted to keep Alabama in to meet their quota. Right. Quotas. Now we got DEI. Now we're going to get DEI picks in the freaking college football playoff. Didn't BYU overall get penalized for losing the fourth? Yeah, yes, Danny, but the problem is that they didn't just get beat. They got manhandled twice. Again, I can't beat up on Alabama for the way they underperformed yesterday. And they also beat Georgia once, by the way, who's the 3rd or 4th ranked team. So they played them twice. So you do have a little bit of a comparison to use there. But BYU was just manhandled by Texas Tech twice. Not even close. But I get your point. At the end of the day, money talks. ESPN is going to shell out a certain number of SE teams to get it. Shell a lot. It sucks, but let's be honest. We all know how it works. We can be as honest as we want. I can tell you that it should never work that way. And if it's going to work that way, what's the freaking point? Let's go back to the old bowl system and let the writers vote. Screw ESPN, screw Fox, screw CBS, whoever else is paying money to these schools. Screw them all. Go back to the freaking antiquated bowl system and let the writers vote. And then we'll just argue who the first team is, not the 12th. This whole freaking thing, which I thought was going to be a wonderful thing. I was a big proponent for the playoff, quite frankly. No good idea goes un-effed up. Leave it to the NCAA. Not sure what that's for. Conferences are all too big. 100%, Neil. All the power, not even the Power Four conferences. How do you put 16 and 18 teams in a conference and not have divisions? If you're going to have a championship game, you have to have divisions. I mean, part of the reason we're in this mess is because Duke made the ACC championship game because of ridiculous tiebreakers. I seem to remember, and this was probably bad. Maybe it was football. I don't know. There was a time where if you had a tie, then there was a vote among, similar to the writers used to vote for, AP poll, right? And they used to vote for national championships. If you had a tie, somebody might vote, the reporters that covered that team, on a team that would actually to break the tie. I could be misremembering that or dreamed it all. I don't know. But something better than games that involve two teams that aren't even involved in the playoffs or the conference championship conversation help decide who gets there with some of these tiebreakers. It's ridiculous. In what world, in what universe does that make any sense? It's almost 10 o'clock. I feel like we're going to spend the whole time on this whole thing, on this topic, which is fine. If there's other stuff you want to talk about, we do have NFL games today, and we do have the playoff push, and we do have a big day, hopefully, for Donnie Mattingly and maybe Dale Murphy today, and some other stuff if you want. We got Matt Campbell getting hired by Penn State, which we haven't talked about. I think they've just gotten James Franklin 2.0. Well, sorry, I think I skipped this. Same with Virginia, the rationale at least, which I don't know which. I've talked about so many things, Michael. I'm not sure what the same. Oh, you're saying losing the conference championship? That's different because they're not ranked higher. They weren't ranked in the. If we're talking about them losing their conference championship game and being penalized, they weren't in the conversation before they lost. So it's not apples to apples. If that's what you're talking about, I'm not even sure. Yeah. Well, I don't think we even knew till Monday who won who was going to participate in the. I could be wrong, but I felt like Monday before I woke up and found out it. Who was going to participate in the championship game for the Mountain West? I can't remember last night's analyst speaking about going to 14 team playoffs, but have play-in games. We had 3 weeks of no football. Somebody talked about that. Well, that's an interesting. You could do that. Actually, it's not a bad idea. I mean, maybe you get to someplace that I don't know. You get to 8. Have play-in games. Give your 14. You almost have play-in games now, I guess, but it wouldn't be that much different what you're doing now, right? You're giving teams buys, so the rest of them are kind of playing their way into the rest of the tournament. But that'd be fine. But again, until you have this committee actually figuring out what they want and what their criteria needs to be, you're still going to have this nonsense. I do think Miami's best chance, by the way, is to somehow be on the 10 and 11 line with Notre Dame before the vote, as they're comparing them. They've got them side by side. The committee has said, and why this really matters, I'm not sure, but they said they will look at those two teams differently, and they would look at the head-to-head matchup if they were directly in competition with each other, like one line above the other. Hello, Matt. How are you? Good to have you with us out in California. Keith's a little worked up today. I know you are. I'm not a homer, man. I look at my teams as, listen, I know I know it probably sounds like I pat myself on the back for this, but I do look at my teams fairly realistically. Whether it's the Yankees, whether it's the Patriots, whether it's the University of Miami, you're not going to get rose-colored glasses with me, rarely. So if I tell you my team's really good and they're getting screwed or whatever, it's not blind fandom talking. Ever. I told you, I'm not going to put up a pissing fit. I don't know what the frick that means. If Miami's left out because they didn't take care of business. The way you get excited about college football, there's a wife in the next. She's upstairs, so she's pounding on the floor. How come you don't ever excited about her? Well, first of all, who the hell eats rhubarb pie these days? And second of all, I do get excited about my wife's cooking. That's why I had to lose 25 pounds. And I got about 25 to go. Feeling great, by the way, man. We actually went out to eat yesterday, and I had a full Italian meal. I didn't drink anything. I'll drink some sociable beers today. I actually lost a pound yesterday. I didn't feed my face with a bunch of crap the rest of the day. I'm so happy right now. I don't know why. I'm feeling really good. So I do get excited about other things besides college football. She does hear me when I get worked up, though. Who cares? Who'll be this year's Florida State and have players skip their bowl game? The thing is, nobody cares anymore, Rick. I don't watch the bowl games. I could care less about them. I mean, there could be one or two matchups that I care about watching. And the answer to your question is every single team. Every single team. You already had a guy who opted out. Actually, that might have got corrected that he got hurt. I think it was a guy from it might have been like Western Michigan or someplace opted out of the championship game, but I think it turned out he was hurt. But the answer to your question is everybody. These bowl games mean nothing anymore. You get a guaranteed payout. Doesn't matter whether you win or lose. You do get to practice. So everybody's going to opt out. And nobody cares about those games anyway. Who cares? I got a 12-team playoff. And that, again, I'm not saying that's the right. There's too many games, first of all. But we should care about some of those games. But this is why part of me now, all of a sudden, while I was a big fan of this playoff, I almost want to go back to the old system where the Rose Bowl and the Orange Bowl and the Sugar Bowl and everything meant something. And when there was, 12 bowl games, they mattered. So it'll be everybody. I would bet you right now, Miami doesn't make the playoff. Carson Beck doesn't play in their game. And a bunch of other guys. That could be Ole Miss won't happen. If you're talking about somebody in the playoff, nobody. You said bowl game. So I don't think he's talking about teams in the playoff, Danny. That's bound to happen eventually. They got to change the whole calendar. Nick Saban said it yesterday. And then Pat McAfee tried to recruit him for the job. They need a commissioner. They need to look at the entire calendar, which we've talked about here for months and months and months, if not years. The calendar is stupid. You can't have early recruits, early commits in the first week of December and transfer portal in the first week of January and keep playing games until January 19th. It's not fair to coaches. It's not fair to players. And he also said he put a mandatory, you can't leave your team as a coach until after your season's done. But you got to change a calendar for that to happen. Oh, Michael is here, I believe. Yes. So, Danny, do you prefer not to see these teams get a chance to play? And that's what I'm hearing. That was a John DeLong theory that we shouldn't let teams in. I want to get all the conference champions in, so I don't have to worry about who's shit. We'll let all the shit in. And you're going to get an upset or two here and there, and that'd be fun, just like the basketball tournament. And if you can't be one of the 5, or I guess you could go to 9 other large teams, if you can't be one of them, well, then you don't deserve to be playing for the national championship. That's not correct. Your head is what? What the hell does that mean? Is that a word? IU 1, OSU 2, Georgia 3, Texas Tech 4. I don't see Oregon 5. I could see Oregon 5, I guess. Again, Michael, we talked about the fact that they shouldn't have any, you were a proponent of doing away with preseason polls. Wrote an article about it. Check Michael's article out today, by the way. Very timely. On TGI Sports Talk on my personal page. I shared it to a bunch of the sports groups yesterday or last night. It's a great read. But Michael talked earlier in the season about doing away with preseason polls. They have to stop the college football ranking 5 weeks before it gets finalized because they box themselves in. Yes, Alan, your Oklahoma team is boxed into the tournament because of where they were ranked in the very first poll. If it happened today, there's a very good chance your Oklahoma team would be out. And it would be Oklahoma against Alabama, not Alabama against Notre Dame and Miami. There is no world where Oklahoma, again, we talked a lot about Alabama. We talked a lot about Notre Dame and Miami. We haven't talked about Oklahoma. There is no world where that Oklahoma team, outside of their defense, is as good as Notre Dame or Miami. They're not. A lot of crooked heads here. Either way, I see OSU 2 no worse than 3. I think 2. I think they dropped just 1. I can see Georgia at 2, but 3 is more realistic. I think Georgia will be 3 and Texas Tech 4. Could be Michigan. Could be Michigan, but will definitely be more of a couple. Oh, you're talking about players opting out. It's going to be everybody. It's going to be everybody. And soon you're going to see guys opting out of these playoff games if they don't do something different. I want nothing to do with that job. Maybe I do want it. How many days a week do I have to work during golf season? In the winter, I'll work all you want. I like fall golf, so I'm not so sure I can beat a commissioner. I vote for Nick Saban. Absolutely. One team has to stand up to the eye test. The other team gets a strength of schedule. The other guy gets head-to-head. Why does everybody fall under the same freaking umbrella? Hello, Bo. Good to have you with us. Are you back from vacation? Hope you had a great time. If you're still there, good for you. Add 2 or 4 more playoff spots and make it about record. Keep the voting element out of it. How do you do that, though? How do you decide where they play? There's got to be a ranking somewhere. I get your point. And again, without that last part, the first part doesn't work. If you add 2 more spots, you add 4 more spots, you're just going to have a log jam. The log jam gets bigger the further down you go, in my mind. So you're going to have a way to break those ties. Because, again, you got a huge log jam of teams at 2 losses, right? I mean, if you put every 2-loss team in there, now you're adding to the mix we already have. You're adding Vanderbilt, you're adding Utah, you're adding Virginia, you're adding Tulane. There's probably a couple others out there, but just the teams that are in this poll. But you did add 4 teams, and maybe that does solve the problem this year. Problem is, you need to solve the problem for every year. And and again, I'm not saying I got answers. That's an answer. I've got more questions than answers, and that's very hard. That's probably why I can't beat a commissioner. I guess if I sat down and thought about it, I'd figure it out. But the problem is we always come up with answers for the problem that we have this year, and then next year we got a whole bunch of more problems. What's going to happen is these guys aren't going to schedule good teams out of conference early in the season anymore. You're going to see crap football until conference play starts. Get ready. All-state playoff predictor has Alabama in Notre Dame. A lot of the playoff predictors, I said this last night in the chat, most of them had Alabama, and Notre Dame was like 90%. But I would say the average of the different predictors I went and looked at, and by the way, I leave ESPN out because they have an agenda. I go look at places like Allstate, and there's other predictors you can go find. But the average was 66% had Alabama in, 17 or 18% for Miami. I fully expect this to be the result. I'm not going to be happy. I won't be. But again, you can't go have the worst 2 losses of the teams that we're talking about. Now, again, if they put them on the same line, Rick, if it's 10 and 11, they're fighting out for, and they've got them on that line right now as they're talking right now, because they're doing it right now, and they've been doing it for hours. Maybe they were up all night. If you're arguing over that 10-11 spot for Miami and Notre Dame, that's probably Miami's best chance to get in, because then maybe they put head-to-head into play the way they said they would. Yes, Tulane is in the conversation. Tulane is in. No lie, Herb, being a sports fan, I don't know if Herb's here, actually. Being a sports fan has to have a Bama. No lie, Herb. Are you talking? The problem when you're talking to you, I don't know what you're talking to, Diddy. I get no punctuation. No lie. So I try to figure it out where it belongs. No lie, Herb. Being a sports fan has to have a Bama after yesterday. I guess it's got to be hard to be a Bama fan after yesterday. Happier with JMU and Tulane over Duke. That's fair. Again, I don't know whether we want the 12 best teams, we want the teams that earn their way in. I don't know what we want, because nobody tells me on the committee what they want. Maybe we do away with it all, and I guess it's to Bo's point a little bit, do away with the automatic bids altogether. Yeah, Big Ten and the SEC is going to buy that, right? And just take the 12 best teams. 14 best teams, 16 best teams, whatever you want. Maybe that's the answer. Or the one that I endorse, I didn't invent, Basement Bob. Let all the conference winners in. So Tulane, Duke, JMU, Duke, they're all in. All of them. Just like the NCAA. And go to 24 teams. Or have play-in games. Go to 24 teams and have playoff games until you get to 16 and then playoff. How about that? So you'd have 11. I think next year you'd have 11 conference champions with the Pac-12 back. You'd get 13 at-larges. You can't come up with a representative frickin' field then. Give X amount of team buys if you want and have playing games, 8 teams a buy, and play down till you get to 8 more slots. Maybe 24 to 16 doesn't work. Feels like it would, but my math is not good. I went to Perth, remember. And play down till you got 16. Probably only going to play 2 games, maybe 1. Again, can't math. Now I'm angry about not being able to math. Did I say hi to you, Matt, already? Or you came in under a different moniker, didn't you? Or I said hi to somebody I didn't know I was. We all know how I feel about Miami. Yes, we do. You haven't said the word convicts once this morning. Interesting, Danny, that you change your language when you want something good to happen for my team that you hate. With that said, as a sports fan, Miami's in. I like Allen's last bracket, no doubt. I do too. I like it too. I love it, Danny. Although Oklahoma belongs out. But, you know, Allen talked about what we know is realistic. I'm not sure it's realistic that they're going to leave Alabama out. Eye test tells me they should. I talk a lot about the eye test, right? My opinion about Notre Dame hasn't changed. Jenny asked me if I had changed my opinion because of now Miami on the outside looking in and Notre Dame in. I haven't. Notre Dame's in the top 5 right now today. Again, we got to look at the whole body of work. We got to look at the head-to-heads. We got to look at everything. But right now, today, they're one of the top 5 best teams in the country. But I can also tell you Miami's one of the 10 best teams in the country. Probably one of the 8. Ain't nobody want to play them if they get in. So-called expert saying Ohio State should cancel going to Texas next year and play Kennesaw State or Bethel Cook. Again, could you blame them? Teams seem to be penalized or rewarded depending on how it fits that individual circumstance for who they play early in the year. So why play? If I'm Miami, why am I playing Notre Dame? Didn't help me. Well, actually, it did. They wouldn't be 12 if they didn't beat Miami. Got to remember that. If they hadn't played Miami and they lost to Bethel Cook, I'm using Miami as an example now. They wouldn't even be sitting in the 12 spot. So you still need to play those games. And you take your chances. The next few years, if things don't change, fans are going to get cheated by having great matchups like Texas versus Ohio, Notre Dame versus Miami. Those teams will start playing weaker, 100%. 500,000 and more. Some of these teams are getting millions to make these treks to get their asses kicked. You know, as I was talking it out a comment ago, though, Danny, it did strike me in the middle of that comment that can they really afford not to play those games? Because again, if I think about Miami's situation, if they had played Kennesaw State in week 1 and not Notre Dame, they wouldn't be 12. I don't think. Assuming everything else went the same. ESPN went out my window and door years ago. Agreed. I mean, I use some references. It's easy place to pull up the rankings and stuff, but God, they went around the bend a long time ago. Not just in sports either, by the way. There's some basic talk. There's some baseball talk. Trey Savage predicted to be in a Blue Jay rotation. Not a shocker, I wouldn't think. Bugger the word baby for limiting innings. Bugger the word baby for limiting innings as a rookie. A few names who burned out mega quick. Steve Avery, Mark Pryor, Mark Langston, 21-year-old. Oh, God. Oh, that's a whole nother conversation that I will bring that conversation to the MLB update next time, Chris, because you know how I feel about this. Kids build their arms up at that age. They don't baby them. You shouldn't baby them. All of these guys burned out around the time we started worrying about pitch counts. Did Nolan Ryan burn out? Thrown 363 innings? 20-something years old in California's first 2 years. Tom Seaver burned out. Bob Gibson, Catfish. I can go on if you want. That's not one I'm ever going to agree with you on, or anybody. Are you seeing the Jack third person voice in make Jack Jack third person voice? You know, the funniest line in Michael's article this week is that he's got a 8x10 glossy autograph of Jack Hirsch. Michael, that line had me. You had me hooked in that article when I read that line. Oh, thank you, Paul. I love it. You know, whether I'm arguing with you guys, yelling at you, it's all fun. It's all for fun. You know, we all got real lives that we lead with challenges. This is a little bit of release for everybody to have fun. If I had a bunch of guys in here who just came in and said, yeah, Keith, that's right. You're so smart. It'd be boring as hell. I am smart, and I am always right. Except for those times that I'm not. Which I have to admit to nearly every time I'm on the air. Which I'm happy to do. You can't do this. Here's my take on this. And I know sometimes Danny talked about it. And I think in Danny, in your place, where you guys are, I think it's easier and okay to take a contrarian point of view because you want to have a interesting dialogue as we talk in the show. I'm not going to do that. When I do that, if I agree with you, I'm going to tell you I agree. And if I don't, I'm going to tell you I disagree, sometimes very vehemently. And I'll admit when I'm wrong. If Oklahoma, goes and gets to the semifinals of the college football playoff, I'll tell you I was wrong. I'm not Mike Francesa. I don't think you can do this show, especially sitting here by myself, without taking a strong stance on things, having loud opinions, kind of stealing from our Jack and Keith's Weekend Playbook tagline. You got to have loud opinions. I hope they're smart takes. Sometimes they're not. And when they're not smart, I admit it. You also have to admit it. You can't just come to the next show and pretend it didn't happen. I tell you who I like before the games, not after. Danny's now a Texas Raider. Red Raider. How come they can be the Red Raiders, by the way, and Perth Central High School couldn't be the Red Raiders? They took away the tacos, the taco shells. What are they going to take away next? Probably the Red Raider name. It's Texas. Maybe they can keep it. Anyway, you hope. Where's Flo? Flo's the biggest Texas Tech fan I know. Anyway, Danny's now a Texas Red Raider fan. Hope they gain the momentum. Momentum? There's no such thing as momentum. Next month and run the Sabiel. I think you mean table. Maybe BYU's loss to the fourth-ranked team won't look so bad, just saying. They did get beat up badly. By the way, the college football pool now is officially over. I apologize for misspeaking that because I went and looked and it's archived. So if you want to get the standings, you got to go look at old groups. But Beamer Ball did hang on and win with 89 wins. Danny moved ahead of, I think he was tied with Rick without the extra week. So Danny moves into second alone with 84. Rick finishes with 83, tied with Alan. Good job by Alan and Boomer Sooner, and by Rick at 83. Followed by pedestrian efforts by TGI Sports Talk, James J. Train Martin, Michael was at 76. Sorry, James and I were at 79. James at 76. Brian at 75. Paul was 73. The generic ESPN fan, which now I know why he didn't put his name in. He's only got 66. Scott Kobe quit on us again when he didn't make mincemeat of us, as he said he would. Where are you, Scott? Are you there? Come on, pop in here. Tell me where you are. Oh, I got that there. Anyway. What do we got left? We still got about 22 minutes or so. Yes, we need divisions in these huge conferences, without a doubt. If you're going to play conference championship games, and if you're not going to play conference championship games, then figure out a better way to tie break or play more league games. Maybe we need more regular season games to separate the pack. Maybe 9's not enough. Maybe you got to play 10 or 11 or 12. Then you get no. And here's the thing, too. If what Danny says comes to fruition and teams aren't going to schedule marquee non-conference games, well, then screw the non-conference games and we'll just play 12 conference games. Then maybe we play one conference game and add one game to the schedule. I'm just spitballing. But you need a way to have real tiebreakers. So some here believe BYU losses to Tech was the worst loss in Bama to FSU. Like you say, the key standards are different between teams. No, I would not say that. I wouldn't say that those Bama's loss to FSU is the worst loss that anybody has in this argument. Nobody, and correct me if I'm wrong, of the 12 teams that we're talking about, well, 10 teams that we're talking about, theoretically or realistically, 10 teams that we're talking about, 2 are irrelevant to this conversation. Alabama has by far the worst loss. That doesn't matter. That loss is worse than Miami's loss to Louisville and SMU. But I guess it doesn't matter because they had all kinds of time to make up for it. So did Notre Dame. You can't say it was early in the year, it doesn't count. All of them count. That's why you need this. I think it's I'm more, and I don't know how you do it because you need some way to judge teams and who's good and who's bad. I guess just record, we can judge for ourselves. We don't need somebody to tell us who the best teams are. And you don't have polls until the very end. Or as Bo said, none at all. Everybody with 2 teams gets in. Figure it out. Like golf. We have a cut. Here's a cut line. Maybe some years it's 1 loss. Maybe some years it's 2. It's the top 12 and everybody who tied. And then have play-in games. That's similar. Danny mentioned that. Or something similar to that. I don't know if it was specifically that. Maybe that's the way to do it. Make it like golf. So the cut line now is 12, and everybody tied at 12 gets in, and you figure out a way to get them to 12 with play-in games. Works for me. Be different every year. Sometimes it'd be 12 would be in. But if you're going to do that, you have to eliminate the group of 5. I guess you wouldn't have to. Yeah, you would. Or you could say the team with the best record of the group of 12, which means Tulane would be out and James Madison would be in. Forget about strength of schedule. Forget about all of it. Problem is, if you do that, Bo, it just strikes me. Teams aren't going to schedule good teams early in the season. They're not going to, or non-conference games, I should say. They're not going to schedule Texas, Ohio State, Miami, Notre Dame. That's the problem with the record. Get both Donnie and Dale in. I'm all for those. That's the only guys. Jeff Kent, I consider a little bit. You got to get 12 out of 16 votes today. I'm looking for. I got to put some Yankee gear on. I got my Ohio State. My Miami shirt. We'll put the Patriot hat on later. Got the black one out to go with the black shirt. I got black pants here, so I had to make it somewhat. Things have to match. I'll take something with the Yankees for Donnie today, too. I don't know what time that vote gets released. Keith, until last night you had Mommy out, so we don't think Homer in any way. No, again, but I will tell you freely, I think they belong in. I'm just not going to cry when they're out. My teams have to, I make my teams get it done on the field. Go 12-0. You don't have these problems. Similar to referees. Don't let referees beat you. Don't let freaking voting committees beat you. Go 12-0. They got no choice. They can't leave you out. Oh, sorry, unless you're Florida State. Thank you, Danny. I like the old system more, no doubt. I thought I was going to like this. It isn't working. And sometimes you don't know, right? What seems like a brilliant idea just blows up in your face. And that's what's happened now. So instead of arguing who's the best team, we're arguing over who's the 12th best team. Oh, my God. Right? Yeah. I had to laugh, too. They had the head of the committee. I can't think of his name on Game Day yesterday. That's the only thing I watch on ESPN, by the way, is Game Day. Full disclosure, I'm bashing ESPN. I do watch Game Day. But he didn't answer a single question that was asked of him. And he made this silly comment. Well, our guys, some of our guys spend hours watching games. Shouldn't they all be spending hours watching games? Maybe that's silly on my part to think, but it seems like they all ought to be watching games. Robert Butler is out there watching. Watch Robert on Sports Scopes. Good stuff. Ralph Williams is out there. I told you about Ralph at the top of the show on RW Media. Catch him periodically through the week, specifically the Sports Corner, Tuesday nights, 6 p.m., 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern. By the way, I got that. One of the reasons I have my U garb on is because I know damn well I'm going to get to Creekside to watch the football today with my boys, have a few sociable light beers to continue my weight loss journey. And the guy that I got into the big argument with last year, who's a Hurricane fan, is going to be there shooting off his loud mouth, saying how much they got screwed, and just saying, oh, the Louisville and SMU games don't count. This guy also claims he bets $5,000 on a game and sits there and freaking comments on every game. He's impossible, man. Anyway, so I wore this so I could tell him, no, you're wrong, and shut up. I haven't engaged. He tried to engage me a few weeks ago. He was there. And last year when I got into it with him, he didn't come back the rest of the year. If you're watching, you know who you are. I won't belittle you by talking your name. I'm tired today. I am tired too. as well as talk texting not working as well. I'll just sit back and take it all in. Feel free. No, Danny, I'm happy to try to decipher what's there. It's just the punctuation sometimes doesn't help, but I'm getting most of it. You're good, buddy. On Saturday nights on TV, the Canadian Broadcast Corporation plays Hockey Night in Canada in both English and what? And an all Punjabi? Is that like an Indian tribe? What is that? The Punjabi analysts bring in massive ratings. What is that? Is it Indian tribe in Canada? He taught me how to gamble. He didn't teach me anything about math. To be honest, again, I got myself in trouble in this regard before. My lack of education at Perth is on me. Nobody else. Sleeping on it, I believe ESPN. There's Scott Kobe. Just noticed you bailed out the last 5 weeks of the college pool. I was bashing you just a little while ago. Sleeping on it, I believe ESPN wants Bama in along with the committee, and that's what will happen. That's what I think. I think there's several things there. The SEC wants that other team. ESPN's going to cave. The committee's going to cave. I think they have a thought in their head that they need to make up for last year. No, they don't. Alabama didn't belong in last year either. And again, don't cry. We're talking about the 12th team. Don't say you got screwed. I'm not going to say I got screwed. You can pick any game on your schedule you lost that you should have won. Should have won yesterday. You wouldn't have this conversation, Alabama. Notre Dame should have beat Miami. They wouldn't be in this conversation. Miami should have beat Louisville and SMU, and one or the other. We wouldn't be in this conversation. ESPN wants Texas in, too. That won't happen, though, Scott. There's no way they can justify Texas being in. And who, by the way, I would put in before Oklahoma. I know I'm pissing Allen off today royally. It's all good fun there, my buddy. I'm not picking on you. I'm picking on your school, your team. We need a segment during the slow times on this, Mr. Jennings. Just saying. Rick, I'd like you to put together a little presentation, a video presentation about Mr. Jennings, and we'll play it during the slow time here in February, March. I think you got what you got in the 10 and now, and James Madison Tulane right off the 12. I'm leaning the same way, Scott. I'm hoping for the best, as you can see, but I'm not sure. How about Marco Odermatt? What a run yesterday. I'm going to say he did well. I have no idea who he is. I'm sorry. See, I just don't know. I saw nothing but college football yesterday. And that I'm guessing he's a football player. I don't know who he plays for. Who did he play for? I'm having a brain fart here, and probably I should know, and it's just not coming to me. Good morning, Jeremy. How are you, my friend? Good to have you. Check out Jeremy's stuff. Jeremy, you want to put a little plug up for your any of your work? Please do it. Times. Big Lions fan, big Michigan fan. 2 bets I made this morning. Jaguars plus 1.5 at home versus the Colts, who have not won in Jacksonville since 2014, and also Devin Achin over 78.5 yards rushing. And also who? Who's JSN? I'm not good with acronyms. Over 91 yards receiving. I think I'm betting the over in the Cincinnati-Buffalo game and being done with it. That's it. I got one bet left in the cigar box. Hello, AC. Good to have you with us for our last 10 minutes here today on this Sunday Stream of Consciousness. We had another month in or so, maybe a little bit more, 6 weeks. We'll be back to the full 2 hours. Paul can hang a 73 pick banner. Hello, Scott. You just said you were here. Make every game conference game round. Make every conference game make every conference game round robin style and have the best two teams play for an automatic bid. This also forces Notre Dame to be in a conference, which won't happen. So the plan falls apart there. So every conference winner I'm leaning. I got to think about that one, Alan. It might have some merit. Probably won't do it because if it makes sense, it's not going to happen. I kind of like the cut line. The more I think about it, and it's kind of a combination of what Bo said and what Danny said. And if the cut's 12, fine. Here's 12 and all ties. 5 and all 12, or 12 and all ties, just like golf. Only in this case, we have to play off until we get rid of the teams we don't want. Also, the two best G5 champions have a plate. That'd be fun. I think that would be interesting. And Danny was right. I think it was Danny who said earlier, kind of, I think I missed you, Chris. I'll go back to that comment. I think I skipped over you there. Piggybacking a little bit of this on Danny's comments. We got 3 dead weeks with no football. Well, there's football. If you want to call those bowl games that will get put in front of us the next 3 weeks, football. Next 4 weeks. Hampton back in 4, 3 weeks, I guess. You're right. I'm sorry. I didn't go to Chris's thing here. Hampton back for the Chargers. That'll help them today. I like the Chargers to beat the Eagles today. Chris has gained some wonderful friendships over the world through these sports talk shows. You have. Listen, I wouldn't have met any of you guys except for Rick without this show and other shows. Listen, I want to tell you guys, too. I've told you this before, and I got about 6 minutes left. I know there's a couple more comments. We got to get off of here by about 10:45. I've told you this before that your support for this show and the way you help me keep it moving is invaluable to me. And I value every friendship that I've made here. I know I've been riding Alan about Oklahoma. It's all good fun. We leave here friends. We always do. We can fight tooth and nails. Danny and I argue. John Gonzalez is still mad at me about Joe Namath. But we leave friends. And I also want to thank you guys for the support you give the other shows that I go on when I share the podcast. And I'm sorry when I have to shut them off early, but you can write Facebook and get nowhere about that. But I thank all you guys. Who else is up here? William Hopper, how you doing, buddy? Looking for some people that maybe didn't say hi, but have popped in here. A lot of people on my personal page these days. I get done, and before I ever share the show, I get 500 or 600 views on my personal page, which is more than the TGI Sports Talk page lately. I'm not sure why, but I appreciate all you guys checking in. And then once we share the shows to some other groups, then we get up to 1,500 or 2,000 views across the platforms, and I'm more than thankful for all you guys and the groups that help us out here. Jackson Smith. Oh, I see. Thank you. I'm not going to try his last name. I probably ought to stick to the acronym. Bolts on Monday Night Football. Well, I don't like them today. Then I like them tomorrow. Also, guys, Dan Harris brought a lot. Dan, I think about Dan every day, and I try to remember every start of every show to give him a little thumbs up. DDH, Dan Harris is quite a guy, I have to tell you. I won't get into it today, but Dan was a very special guy. Scott knows, and Alan knows, and some other guys. Tanner D, I know, knows. Some other guys who were involved with Let's Talk Sports know. Dan was a special guy. He'll have a special place in my heart forever. He sent me a letter before he passed. And I think by the time I got it, I think he may have already was already gone. And I cherish it. The things he said to me about how he looked at me, and I don't think they were necessary. But the fact that he saw things that way meant the world to me. And I wish I'd had a chance to chat with him about that. Never got a chance. Told you Indiana could win. I said they could win as well. So, yes, Indiana could and did win. Indiana yesterday had more. This doesn't mean that they're the better team, by the way. I didn't learn much yesterday other than congratulations, Indiana, on beating Ohio State. I think they had a lot more incentive yesterday. And I think if they play again, it could be the same result, or Ohio State could easily win. They're the best two teams in the country by far. You saw the best two defenses in the country, maybe outside of Texas Tech. And that is the real question. I think that game meant a lot more to Indiana yesterday than it did Ohio State. DDH now is how we became. That's that. Jeremy's another one. Sorry, I didn't mean to leave you out, Jeremy. I was thinking of guys off the top of my head, and DDH is the way I met a lot of guys. Mac McGrath, who is also passed on, obviously, as you all know. Between Mac and Dan Harris, man, I met all these people that I've done shows with and gone on shows and commented on, and they come on my shows and comment. And guys, I want to get out. I wish I could get out and get to more of your shows. And if you send me reminders, I'll be happy to go share them. If there's something to go share, please let me know, because it's hard. I don't remember to go share them, and I want to help Jeremy. I want to help Scott and Alan. I want to help Flo and Can, like they help me. Or will they do it again? Absolutely. Jeremy will definitely take that bet. Oh, so they can do it again. That's why they call it gambling, by the way. That's why there's a bet being made here. Well, we're going to wrap it up with this one. Well, maybe not. They said they can win, not they will. Two very different. I agree, 100%. Hello, Dave Guyette. Good to have you with us up in Amsterdam, New York. Unfortunately, we're going to be hitting the road as we speak. Guys, have been a great Sunday morning. Is all very spirited. I knew we were going to spend pretty much the whole show on the college football playoff, and that is fine. We'll catch back up on the NFL and some other stuff Monday morning with Jack and Keith's Weekend Playbook. Check us out at 8 a.m. Eastern right here on on TGI Sports Talk. And we'll always be part now of the McGrath streaming podcast project. See you guys later. Have a great Sunday. Enjoy the college football rankings in another hour-ish. And good luck to the Patriots today. I'm more kind of Bama fans than they are to their siblings. Guys, have a great Sunday. Love you all. Bye-bye.
You're listening to Keith Engle, the host of TGI Sports Talk on the National Streaming Sports Roku channel.